Welcome. Welcome to the YouAttest webinar today, June 2nd, on how I executed my access review. Craig Guinasso, a YouAttest customer from Exact Sciences, will be talking in depth about what's relevant. Not YouAttest, but what's relevant is the actual audits and the guidances and regulations that require access reviews, things like HITRUST, ISO, and the NHS. Okay. The agenda is just that. I got through the introductions. Okay. Then Craig's going to take the actual problem. I'm going to talk a little about YouAttest, and then Austin will be talking about the product, and then doing a demo, and we'll take some questions. And yes, use the Zoom features for the questions. Take it away, Craig.
Good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you might be. My name is Craig Guinasso. I'm a Director of Information Security for Exact Sciences, formerly Genomic Health. We're on the West Coast, just south of San Francisco Airport. And I've been there for a number of years. A couple of years ago, we started this process of getting HITRUST certified. And for those that are not familiar, HITRUST is a certification process really designed for healthcare organizations. And we started down this path. It was a bit of a journey. And as we were going through this certification process, our internal auditor says to me, you know, how often do you review user accounts in Active Directory? And I said to him, well, that's an interesting question. If it's not really SOX related, because we're obviously a public company, I don't know that we actually go through and do it just as an audit function. And I'd never really been asked that question before, and I wasn't really sure how we did it. So Austin, I think you can go to the next slide. As I started to go through the process, I realized that, you know, the organization requires a documented list of users and assets, which I think most companies already have either through Active Directory or AWS or some other process they use. So they already know who their users are. But the organization needed to review critical system accounts, not only for admin users every 60 days. Every 60 days, I'm like, seriously? And every 90 days. And I said, I don't even know how we would do this. You know, we're not that big of a company, and there's probably 1,500 accounts in Active Directory. This would be no easy task for us. And really, that's just the humans. When you take the service accounts and some of the other business accounts we might have, that list could really become it would be a full-time job. And so the advice that we were given was to audit those accounts like a percentage. So let's just take 10% or 20% or 30% of those and do them in small sections. So this really started the whole process for us of figuring out how we would do this. We really didn't want to use spreadsheets, which I know by and large a lot of companies are doing. And as it happened, we had a meeting with our customer success manager at Okta. And I said to him, he was sitting next to me at the table, and I said, you know, you guys, you really need to have the capability to review access for our accounts that are in Okta. And he looked at me kind of funny. He says, you know, I just had this conversation with this company called YouAttest, and that's exactly what they do. And he put me in touch with Austin. I contacted Austin. I said, look, Austin, I have this issue that I have to resolve as it relates to HITRUST regarding user access rights and how we review them. And ideally, we'd like to be able to automate this process. So at any given time, whether it's quarterly, it was quarterly for us for SOX, but either quarterly or biannually or whatever the situation is, we have the ability to audit these accounts and have some way of signing off on them and showing the auditors what we've done. As I started to think this through, I thought, you know, it would be good for us to do this, but it would be even better if the user's manager had this capability. And we started down this path and was introduced to YouAttest and ended up purchasing it right away and implementing it. So that's as it relates to HITRUST. Austin, if you go to the next slide, as soon as we were done with our HITRUST certification, we started our ISO 27001 certification. We're in the unique position of being an international healthcare company. And sure enough, this issue comes up again. So in Annex A, they're not only asking for a review of user access rights, but they also want to make sure that we're removing or adjusting access rights. So again, how do we go through this process, especially being the small company that we are, and needing to be able to do this in a timely fashion. Being an international company that gets reimbursed through many government organizations, not the least of which is the NHS. Austin, you can go to the next slide, which is the National Health Service for the UK. They specifically wanted us to audit user accounts to make sure that the access was appropriate. People are still in the position that they have, that position that they were hired to be in, that there was no what they call position creep, and that they've moved into another role, or they have access they shouldn't have. I'm sure I'm not the only person on the call, but maybe I am, that has the situation where an employee gets hired, or is in the process of being hired. The manager submits a ticket to onboard that person, and because the manager doesn't have a really good laser focus idea of exactly what systems that person will need access to, they say, please make access for my new employee exactly like my other employee, and that never gets reviewed. We don't really know whether that's appropriate, and we don't have any way of accessing it. So what we've done is deployed YouAttest. We have the managers sign off on the employee's access on a regular basis according to the compliance that we just talked about, for just this ongoing maintenance of what I would call Active Directory. And then B, in addition to having the managers sign off of the appropriate level of access, we have an entirely different SOX issue or SOX function where the finance organization will sign off on the appropriate level of access for finance or SOX scoped systems in our organization. And it's worked out well for us because now we have a way of showing that we're actually doing this, and there's evidence around it. The interesting point is that because I think this is a new and emerging technology, we don't present this in a spreadsheet. A lot of the auditors that are actually asking for this look at us and go, oh, I wasn't really expecting this. And it's an interesting dynamic to see because they're asking for something, we're giving it to them in a way they've never seen before, and they're sort of blue screening on us. Next slide. The real benefit to us is the time, of course, the accuracy, but the repeatability. So the things that used to take us, a week or in some cases a month to generate and to sign off on, now the reports are generated in literally in less than a minute. They're sent out and returned, and we have a list that allows us to be able to show that we've actually done the reviews. And with that, I think I hand it back to Austin.
Fantastic. I'll take it from here, and then Austin will be doing a demo. Before we get into the demo, let me just tell a little about what YouAttest is about. Craig did a fantastic job of talking just 3 different regulations: HITRUST, ISO, NHS standards, of where access reviews come in. So where does YouAttest come in then? Our mission, what we've already accomplished in a small way, but growing bigger every day, is just that, is to take these processes, the processes that are extremely manual. Craig just told us all that, yeah, were they doing access reviews before? And all the customers Austin and I talked to, are they doing access reviews? Yeah, of course, it's regulated. How do they do them? And Craig, and also getting a lot of manual. We are slated, designed, and implementing a solution that takes the manual process away and makes it not only easy to do the access review, but easy to integrate into your existing environment. And that's the mission of what we're up to. Okay. Before I hand it off, I just want to. I was on a webinar the other day with a fellow person I have great respect to, Raj Asani from Focal Point, and he was doing a presentation for UCI on auditing, and he brought up this slide from the IIA, the Institute of Internal Auditors, because sometimes it's great to reevaluate why we're doing what we're doing. First of all, and this maps right into YouAttest, there's wonderful tools out there for IAM, okay? One of the best being, and it's not me saying, is Okta. Okta is probably the best IAM tool that's been invented for the SaaS space. And I can say that because I invented one, and Okta's was better. That's how good Okta is. That's your first line. Okay, now what we as the wonderful people at IT, and me included before really understanding this space, is that there's two other lines of defense we got to pay attention to. One is compliance, right? Are we as an organization doing the efforts, which is Craig obviously was doing because he was proactive and reached out not only for his own process, but to improve them, to understand the risk and exposures to our enterprise. And that, as you'll see the demo that Austin run, is what we do. And then number three, this is the money. This is where the pain is. The dialogue between the Craigs of the world, which are the IT guys assigned to accomplish these audits, and then handing off the information to the Rajas of the world, right? Who is the external audit. That's where we'll be playing it. And when you watch this tool, watch exactly how we're going to work in this space, which is, it's not only the task of auditing, it's the process of generating the reports and then creating that dialogue between the internal auditor and the external. Okay, I've said enough, Austin. I want you to take it over and tell people what you compare to what is being done today, and then how we're doing it. I'll stop sharing.
Perfect. Sounds good. So let me just share my screen really quick. But as Garrett and Craig were both mentioning, the current alternatives out there are the manual spreadsheets and doing this through on-prem software. And what YouAttest realized is these people using these sign-ons, they needed some sort of tool that was efficient, that would eliminate that risk, and it wouldn't cost them a ton of money, and it wouldn't take a lot of time to deploy. So basically, if you're using any sort of single sign-on, you need to make sure that you're addressing those areas Garrett mentioned in that one slide, the second and the third line of defense. So that's the compliance, and then the ability to actually communicate these reports with the auditors. And so if you don't currently have these with your single sign-on tool, it's important that you establish one quickly and make sure that it's able to keep up with your scaling process. So Craig got into this a little bit earlier. He was talking about HITRUST, and then he went over and talking about ISO. But these specific requirements that people have to meet, mainly they have to make sure that the reviewer of the user access and rights, that you're able to review this, but you're also able to delegate this out. So not just one person is handling this. The individual that knows the most about their department, that is capable of actually attesting for an individual, needs to be the one assigned to those users. That is critical, and that's one of the main things that YouAttest is built around, is creating those segregation of duties, enabling the managers and all the other individuals within the company to be able to delegate out and be responsible for users that they are qualified to attest for. So that's really what we want to highlight here, that using the existing API connections with Okta and Active Directory, YouAttest is able to create that. We're able to delegate out a system where managers can now instantly certify, instantly revoke access to users, and form these reports. But more importantly, it's not just one person, it's not just Craig doing it, it's separated out throughout the company. And I'll get into this a little bit later, but we also offer support for non-Okta applications as well. So if you have applications that aren't on-premise, we could address that. Right here, we're going to be talking mainly about what is in Okta and how YouAttest leverages those APIs. More just talking about what these reports actually include. they're going to show what happened. So if you certified access, if you revoked access, or if you delegated this out to another manager and what that manager did. It'll show when it happened, the date and time, and it'll talk about what levels of access was reviewed. So not only do you see that someone had access to a particular application, but at what level? Are they an admin? Are they just a basic user? Do they have extra privileges? You're able to see that in all these reports that Craig was talking about were able to be put together in a couple of minutes. And since these are so automated, since the process is really streamlined, you're able to eliminate all that risk of having it done manually. And also the deployment time for this is instant. You can set this up relatively quickly. This is just a high level overview of how it looks, how we actually set this up. So I talked about it. We are leveraging Okta's existing API integration with Active Directory. So we're able to pull information from there. But we're also leveraging Okta so we can pull information from all the applications that are housed within Okta itself. So there is no on-premise software required. That's how we're 100% cloud-based. We're powered by Okta. And I'll jump into just a quick demo. And this is what Craig was talking about when he was running his access review. Just log in really quick and you'll see from start to finish how quick one of these access reviews can take place. So first, we'll just enter in with the company domain. Next, what we're doing here is we are logging in with our Okta credentials. And this is because it's tethering the two accounts. So right here, you can see we're at the dashboard. I mentioned the setup. This is really all that's required right here. You could add an API. All you have to do is give it a name, provide an Okta URL, and enter the API key. And you're ready to go and start performing your audits. But we'll go over here when we want to perform a campaign and just review the access to individual applications. We'll go over to auto campaign. We're going to go to add new campaign, and then we'll simply just select applications. We'll select the API source, so you could have multiple Okta environments here. We'll name this one. And then we'll just select a due date. Once we've done all of this, it'll take us to the next screen and you'll be able to see all the applications that you have access to within Okta. So if it's in your Okta environment, every single application will show up on this screen. From here, you could select all of them. You could select any number of applications that you want to review. So I'll just select these three right here. We'll go on and click done. And now what it's doing is it's pulling all that information, it's showing all the users, it's showing their level of access, and it's creating a workspace where this could be delegated out and attest to all these individuals one by one. So right here, I'll just expand it. And you can see we have the application name, we have the username by email, and then you can see what type of access, how they've been assigned, if this is individual or group. And right here, this is where you could actually take actions, and your actions will show up in these two squares right here. So if we just scroll down, if you want, say everyone's good to go, you could certify it. But typically this isn't the case. So what we'll do, some users might not be able to be approved. You simply just revoke like this. I want to note that no changes have been made within Okta just yet. This is a worksheet, and once we go back out to the main, hit execute, then those changes will actually take place. So although we revoke those individuals right there, currently they still have access until we hit execute. Lastly, I just want to talk about the delegate feature. So if you click delegate, all you have to do is enter in their managers or whoever's responsible for this user to attest to them. All you have to do is enter in their email, and they will receive an email stating that they have to attest to this individual by a certain date. And more importantly, they will only see the individuals they've been assigned to. So they won't be able to see the same home screen as you. They won't be able to see all the users that have access here. They will only be able to see the ones that they've been assigned to. They'll go in, they'll attest to them. And once that's all finished, you'll have a complete report. Lastly, I just want to note, using lifecycle management, you can see the user job title, you can see their manager, their profile, and their roles. All that information will be available using lifecycle management. But let's go back out to our campaign screen. So we'll go back out to our applications audit. We'll go all the way down and we'll click execute. Now, now that we're clicking execute, this is where those changes are being made within Okta. So the 2 users that we revoked access will no longer have access to that application. And more importantly, as Craig was getting at, what's really important is to not only be able to perform these actions, but it's to be able to communicate that these actions have taken place and show proof of this. So if you're undergoing an audit, you're able to show that this actually took place. You could have the time, the date, and who took that action. And this right here is an example of one of those reports. If you go in right here, you can see the action was revoked and this one was certified. If it's delegated out, this will be populated with who it was delegated out to, and it'll reflect what time they took that action of either certifying revoke or delegating it out further. We also offer the ability to run group audits. So if you have Active Directory groups that you need to maintain and show that you have reviewed and verified that everyone should have the correct access, you could do so as following. It's very similar. You go to the add campaign, want to run an Okta Active Directory group. Same thing, just select a due date, and then we will do name it. The only part that's a little bit different is when we go into here, you'll simply just type what type of group you're looking for. So right here, we could type domain admins. If we want to add another group, you could add multiple. So we have human resources, and then we'll click done. And so now we've created a group audit. And if we expand this, you can see it's the same format. You can see the user, what group they're responsible for, and then also you'll be able to see the actions right there. Also using lifecycle management, you will be able to see the job title, the user manager, and so on. So you'll be able to see that detailed information. Just like previously, certify works the same way, and revoke works the same way, as long with delegate. So all those place the same exact way. No action has actually been completed until we go back out and hit execute. And so once that's done, it'll generate a similar report, and you'll be able to submit that for any of your certifications or audits that you're undergoing. You can see similar report right there. And in terms of reporting, that's as quick as it is. From start to finish, we just were able to perform an access review for an application and for groups. And I think that took roughly about 5 minutes from start to finish. So it's very quick. There's also another feature. I'm not going to get into it too deep right now, but just so you know, we do have the ability to run a CSV campaign. And so what that means is if you have an application that isn't on-premise or is on-premise, it's not run through Okta, you'll be able to upload a CSV, and you could go through and verify access roles that way as well. So we do have that option. I'll jump back over to the presentation.
Awesome.
Garrett, you want to add anything?
Can you mention a little about the integration? So we are certified.
Yes, so we are an Okta integration network partner. So we are verified. We're on the Okta integration network, and you can find us there. There's instructional videos. You can see how we can be set up, but we are an OIN partner.
Right, so there's no integration cost. So take it away from there.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. There's no setup cost. It 100% comes with it, and we'll walk you through step by step. But from start to finish, it does not take very long at all. It could be about 5 to 10 minutes of just actually adding all the necessary information. Going over pricing, so we are SaaS-based pricing. You can see as you increase the user size, we go down in cost. But right here, one thing that I really want to highlight is it's unlimited applications. So you do not have to limit the number that you are including in there. Also, that doesn't affect the time of setup. So we have unlimited reporting, unlimited number of delegations, and it's extremely easy to sign up. It's with a credit card, so very easy to actually process this. But more importantly, I want to say that all features are included. So everything that we are adding in 2020, all the new additional features we're going to be including in this will be supported in your account, regardless of when you are starting. So with that being said, I want to open it up to Garrett and Craig if they have anything else they want to add before I jump into questions.
Craig, I'll let you go first. Anything you would like to add?
Nope. Thank you, though.
Fantastic. I'm good. Let's take some questions and let people get on with their day.
Okay, perfect. Let me just pull up questions over here. So the first question looks like we have, does YouAttest support CSV files, required software installed on premise to support Active Directory? So yes, that might have been asked a little bit earlier, but yes, we do support CSV files. One thing I want to say is with those CSV files, we don't have any sort of format that they're required to be in. Those can be uploaded in any variety of way, and then we are able to map that going through to our fields. We even have a couple custom fields that you could add. So there's no prior framework that those could be in. They could come directly from your company, however it is. Okay, so we have, does YouAttest support secondary or nested groups as well? Garrett, do you mind taking this one?
Yeah, we do support the groups, but we display them flat. So it's just the way Okta does. We're glad to take the customer and show exactly how it looks.
Yeah, definitely. That's a good question. So on that, other questions we have here. Does YouAttest, so it looks like this might have been asked a little bit earlier, but does YouAttest have an application limit? Will it cost more per application? No. If you remember from the demo when we pulled that up, YouAttest does not have an application limit, and that won't cost any additional fees. That screen, as long as it's within your Okta environment, we will be able to support it, and it won't increase the cost at all. We are by license basis, so the number of users. And then right here, we have, can you create users in YouAttest to delegate certifications to? So the answer to this one is yes, you can invite any user you'd like, as long as you just have to send an invite over to them, and then they'll have an opportunity to create a password and log into their YouAttest tenant. We have another one. Does YouAttest support other IAM such as adaptive?
I'll take that, Austin. So here is how we're working with other resources. If you can dump the access rules in the access table into a CSV, we can import it into this mechanism and allow you to run the same certify, revoke, and delegate processes on there. So that's how we'd work with any other resource. And we are finding that it'd be a very, very useful implementation in our Okta customers. They're like, great, you're doing this. Now I have this other access review that I have to do in this. And the people are already trained how to do these reports through this product.
Excellent. Just trying to see if we have any more questions coming in. All right, I don't see any other questions coming in, but if you do think of any afterwards, the email is right there, sales@youattest.com. Feel free to send it on over. We'd be happy to set up a demo. We'd be happy to answer any questions that you have. Also, we'll be sending out a recording of this presentation. It'll be on our YouTube channel, as well as an email sent out. You could think of anyone that could benefit from seeing this. We'd love to set this up and run another demo again. Oh, looks like we might have one more question coming in. I'll just pause for a little bit while this user types. So just 1 second.
Oh, and while you're waiting, I do want to add that we do have a full 30-day trial that you can take this, integrate it into your Okta tenant or other resource, and play with it and see how this works and how this will improve your access reviews, especially from a manual process.
Absolutely. Okay, so here's the question. So just to be clear, can you do attestations on on-premise apps? The answer to this is yes. Using our CSV feature, we are able to perform attestation on these apps. We will most likely be doing another webinar on this and showing a demo, but if you'd like to schedule a one-on-one demo going over this, be more than happy to set something up and go through this and show the start to through finish on this. But good question. Really appreciate everyone for hopping on this and taking some time out of your day. Definitely want to say a big thank you to Craig and Garrett. Take it away if you have any final comments.
No, great. Thank you very much, Craig, for the
Thank you.
informative session, and everyone stay healthy out there.
Thank you.